Okay, so welcome everyone in the live session once again. So today we will be covering a very important topic, and the topic for today is the concept of class and objects in Python programming. So first of all, welcome everyone in today's lecture, today's session on my channel Indian Gurukul, and the topic is class and objects in Python. So there is a very important concept, and that concept is there in an approach which is known as an object oriented paradigm. So basically an object oriented paradigm is a paradigm in which we need to first of all identify the different type of entities which are there. We use an object oriented paradigm when we want to create a very large application. Okay, so I would be explaining this with few examples. Okay, the main thing is, suppose if we want to develop some big application, so at that time what will happen is we will be needing to know that what are the different entities which are there in our application, and for all different entities we will be creating different classes. So if we try to understand the concept of a class, so let's first of all consider an example. Suppose I want to create a application, and that is an application for managing a university data. Okay, so in a university we know that there are several type of entities. There are students who take admission in a university. There are instructors or the faculty members who teach, and there are other staff members as well. So what we identify is that broadly we can say that there are three different type of entities, okay, that are there in any university or in any college. Okay, the first entity is student. We know that a student will be enrolled in some course. Okay, he will be, if he is a student of a college, so maybe that he would be having some roll number. Okay, or maybe that there is a semester, there is a current semester, and there would be a set of subjects which he would be studying, and he will be getting marks, he will be getting grades. But for an instructor, we know that an instructor will neither be having a roll number, and neither will he have any marks, because he won't appear in any of the examinations. Okay, and he won't be having any semester as well, because uh, semester wise only the students have to study. So we can understand that there is a big difference between a student sort of entity and a teacher or an instructor or a faculty sort of entity, because they have different type of attributes. Okay, so what we can do, use this concept of object oriented programming over here. So first of all, we will be identifying the different type of entities, and we will be creating the blueprint of each and every entity. Okay, so this is the thing. Okay, also we know that an instructor will be having some salary as well, and we know that students do not have any salary, especially in our country, because they are there to learn. Okay, so now let's try to understand this concept of class from the very basic. I hope that this example of the university or the college and the different entities which were there was clear to all. So now let's start. Okay, so on the left hand side, see, what I have represented is there is a sketch. Okay, or we can say that there is a blueprint of some building which is there to be constructed. So what the architect will do, he will first of all draw and sketch, okay, and depending upon the blueprint which has been drawn, because in a building we know that there would be different rooms, okay, there will be balconies, there will be different portions, okay, in a building, and each and every portion of the building, okay, maybe that if we are planning to construct a house, so we know that there will be, suppose, the dining room, okay, the bedroom, the kitchen, and so on, and all these things will be first of all drawn, or we could say that a blueprint of the house will be prepared first, and then depending upon that blueprint the final construction will be done, okay. The main thing is that when the building comes into existence, that is basically an object, and the class basically is just the blueprint. So the object is the physical existence of the blueprint which we had prepared, that is the class, and class was basically just the sketch or the blueprint, okay. So class is a blueprint of an object, okay. Let's consider another example. Over here we have some molds. What we can see is that, suppose if there is a particular mold, so a particular type of toy could be created by that particular mold, okay. Suppose if there is a mold for the Mickey Mouse, so only Mickey Mouse will be created, okay. So the toys which will be created using that mold will be resulting into Mickey Mouse, sorry. So you can see that there are different toys which we have created using different molds, okay. So basically a mold was not a physical existence of a toy, but it was like a blueprint of the toy. In the same way, a class is a blueprint, okay. So basically when we will be creating the applications, we will be needing to identify the different objects which are there, different type of objects, and we will be writing the code for each type of object, and for any specific type of entity, what we will be needing, we will be needing its blueprint, and that will be the blueprint of its class, okay. So different molds, we can understand that different molds can be considered as different classes, and we can use different classes for creating different type of objects, okay. Over here if we are considering molds, so by using different molds we can create different toys, okay. But we know that from, if we are going to use a specific mold, so what we could do, we could just create multiple identical toys by using one mold. In the same way, if we create or we instantiate an object, the term which we use, okay, when we first of all create an object of a particular type is the instantiation, because in terms of programming we say that an instance of a particular class, that is an object, is created, okay. So that is the instantiation of an object, okay. So one mold could result in the identical toys of a particular type, okay. So we could create multiple identical toys using a single mold. In the same way, we can create different objects of the same type by instantiating the different objects of a single class, okay. Like if we instantiate the object of the student class several times, so each time a new student will be instantiated, okay. Student type object will be instantiated. So we can see that toys of the same type have similar features, like each monkey has two eyes, two hands, two ears, okay. And over here we can see that in this object there is a car, there is a drum. So if we instantiate a particular object of this type, so each object will be, okay, having all these properties. Okay, it will be having this drum which is there, this car which is there. Okay, and then it will be having the face of the Mickey, okay, which is there over here. So this is the thing. So what we can see is that there are two main things which are there in any object. The first thing is the attributes, okay, or we can say that there is, okay, for a particular object we have different features of it. So all those features are its attributes, okay, and also it has some functionality. So that thing is also needed to be there in the concept of class. Okay, and in this case what we will be doing is, for understanding the functionalities of a particular object, we will be using different methods. Okay, we will be having different methods, or we can say different functions within a particular class as well. Okay, so that will help the object to have different functionalities. A class is defined, see, so basically any programming language which uses this concept of object oriented paradigm, so for all those languages we will be using this concept of class and object over there. Okay, so a class is defined in Python using the keyword class followed by the name of the class. The main thing is this way we can use this concept in any of the object oriented programming language that follows the object oriented paradigm. Okay, so because Python is also an object oriented programming language, so the same concept of the class and the object is used in Python as well. And when we want to create a particular class, okay, so at that time we first of all use the keyword class. Over here what we have done, first of all we have used this keyword class over here, and then it is followed by the name of the class. Okay, then there are some features, okay, for a particular type of entity. So those features will be the variables or the data members which will be there, and it would also have some functionality. So that functionality will be there in the form of some functions, or we can say there will be some methods. Okay, so as Python is dynamically typed, okay, we do not need to declare data members, that is variables, in a class in Python. The main thing is, like suppose if we use some other programming language like C++ or Java, over there what we used to do was, we used to first of all, there were three basic steps. Okay, and one of the step was, we used to first of all declare the different variables which were there. Okay, so if there was suppose a variable name age. Okay, so maybe that we want an integral value of it, so integer value of age if we want. So what we will be doing in that case is, we will be using this data type first of all, that is int, and then followed by the variable name, that is age. Okay, but over here in Python, if suppose we know that student will be having some age, then also we do not need to declare. Okay, we need not, okay, we do not need, sorry, we do not need the variable. Okay, because it is a dynamically typed language and we do not need to define its type, okay, prior to its use. Okay, because the interpreter itself will understand that what type of, depending upon the type of data which is provided to a particular variable, that what its data type is. Okay, so this is the thing, this is the basic difference which is there if you have already studied some programming language. Okay, so declaring an object accomplishes three things. So first of all we will be writing the code, that is the blueprint. Okay, and that blueprint will be the code of the class. Okay, and when we will be instantiating an object of a class, so at that time three basic things will be done. The first thing is, when we instantiate an object, the memory is allocated, okay, to the object. Okay, so whatever members it has, whatever member an object has, so all the members which are there, that is these data members or the variables which a particular object has, so all those will be provided some memory. Okay, the first thing is memory allocation is done to all the variables which are there in a class. And then second thing is uh, a reference variable is created, so that object will be given some name. Okay, that will be the reference variable in this case. And then when the object is created, then there is a method, and that specific method is called, okay, implicitly. We need not call it explicitly, and that method is a constructor method. So there is a certain set of statements which we want to be executed. Okay, so all those statements are placed within this constructor method. And basically in Python it is represented by underscore underscore, okay, init underscore underscore. So that is the constructor, that is a method which is called implicitly. Okay, we know that a particular method is called by using the dot operator and then the method name, but in case of Python, okay, this underscore underscore init underscore underscore method is called implicitly. That is the constructor, because it is a constructor method. Okay, so to use the data and access functions defined in the class, object name dot member name is used. So if we want to use the data or access the functions that are defined in the class, so what we will be needing is, first of all, we will be needing the name of the object, and then after writing the name of the object, the name, we will be using this dot operator, and after that we will be writing the name of the method. Okay, or we can say if we want to access some data member, so in that case we will be writing the name of that variable over here after the dot operator. So see, if we want to instantiate an object, so first of all what we will do, we will write the name of the object, okay, and then equal to the name of the class, and then these brackets. So what it will do, it will just instantiate an object, and also the constructor of the class will be called at the time of instantiation of an object. So if we want to go into the theory of class, what we can say is a class is the building block that leads to object-oriented programming language. Okay, this we have understood because what we did was we first of all identified the different entities which were there, and we just wrote the blueprint for each type of entity, and that is the building block of the object-oriented programming language. It is a user-defined data type. See, basically, we know that there are several types of data types, and if we broadly classify the different data types, then one of the data type are the data types which are predefined or which pre-exist in any of the programming language, and there are some data types, okay, which the user can itself create. So class is basically a user-defined data type. If a user wants to have its own data types, so what he will be needing, he will be needing just to create some classes. Okay, so in this case student will also be a data type, and if we create another class for the instructors or the faculty, so those will also be a different data type. So it is a user defined data type which holds its own data members and the member functions. And this data type basically has a set of data members or the variables, okay, but and in fact for a particular class we can say that it will be having some instance members, okay, or the instance variables, and there will be some functions in it. Okay, if you have studied the C programming language, then you must have also studied the concept of the structure. So it is somewhat similar to that. These data members or the data variables and the member functions can be accessed and used by creating an instance of that class. Okay, so if we want to access any of the function which is there in a particular class, so for that we will be first of all instantiating its object, and then we will be using the dot operator and the name of the function or the name of the variable. Okay, so finally what we can say is a class is a user defined blueprint or prototype from which objects are created. So this we have understood that a class is a blueprint. Okay, and we can instantiate different objects, okay, using this blueprint. So it represents the set of properties, okay, or methods that are common to all objects of one type. For example, student, there may be many students with different names and roll numbers but will share common properties like they will appear in exams and will receive grades. Okay, so this we have considered that if we create a class, student class, so we know that all students will be having some name, they will be having some roll number, they will be enrolled in some courses, okay, and they will be appearing in some semester, maybe that if they are going through some examination, so they will be having the results as well, and they will be getting their grades. And this is why we consider all the different students as the object of the same type, that is the student type. So student basically is a data type now, and this data type is a user defined data type. Okay, in the same way we can have different classes as well. So here is another example of a class, that is the car class. We know that if we consider different cars, so all the cars have almost the same properties. They have four wheels, okay, so they could be used for driving and going somewhere. Okay, so they will be having some mileage also. Okay, they will be having some speed limit. Okay, so all these will be the properties of a car, and we can see that a car object is totally different from a student object. A student object is somewhat different from a faculty or instructor object, because we know that instructors, okay, will not have any roll number and they would be getting some salary, but the students won't be getting any such thing. Okay, so now let's see an example of the student class. So over here what I've done is I have created a class first of all. So in a class, since in Python is a dynamically typed language, so for any variable or a data member which is there, we do not need to first of all declare the members. So there are some functions which are there within this student class. Okay, the main thing is any object which will be created of this student type will have a set of properties. Okay, and it will be having some features, and all the objects of this student type will be having same type of properties and features. So this is the thing. So what are the different features which we think a student could have? So if it will be, any student will be having his name. Okay, then it will be having his, student will be having his roll number and the semester in which he is appearing. Okay, so this is the thing. So what we want is, suppose if we want to instantiate an object of the student type, so suppose if there is a student, so what we will be needing, we will be needing first of all to instantiate its object, and the syntax we have already seen, that object name equal to, okay, the class name followed by this function brackets, because now a constructor of this type will be called. Okay, so a constructor basically is a method that is executed implicitly when an object is instantiated. So over here an object of a student type will be instantiated, but over here there is no constructor. Okay, in the student class there is no explicit definition of a constructor, there is no method of the form underscore underscore init. Okay, so since there is no method of this form, so we need to explicitly call the functions over here. So what I've done is I have defined two functions over here. The first function is the set details function, and the second function is the get details function. So there are two definition. Okay, two functions are defined over here. So what a set details function will do, when this function will be called, and since this is not the constructor function, because the name of this function is not the init. Okay, so we need to explicitly call this function. Okay, we need to explicitly call the set details function over here, and when this set details function will be called, okay, then the lines within it will be executed. So over here, first we instantiate an object of the student type. So the name of the object over here is s1, and the main thing is, although there is no explicit definition of the init method, but the init constructor, there is a implicit definition which is there of the init function. So a init method definition will be called during this instantiation, but that definition will be an empty definition. So no lines of code will be executed, and hence, okay, when this object will be instantiated, then no additional attributes, okay, will be given any value. But now we know that each student will be having some features, so those features will be represented in the form of attributes over here. So the attributes of a student are like, you will be having some name, roll number, and the semester. So for this, in this case, what I will be needing is, I will be needing to call this set details method explicitly, and over here, after instantiating this object s1, this set underscore details method, okay, which is an instance method, okay, which is an instance method, is called explicitly, okay, by using this dot operator and the name of the method, and then we are passing three attributes within it. Okay, all three parameters, sorry, over here. The first is the name, the second is, okay, the roll number, and the third is the semester. And when this method is called over here, so this definition will be executed. Okay, that is the set details method, okay, will be executed, and this self dot name, which is the instance variable, okay, which is the instance variable. The instance variables are the variables which belong to some particular instance or some particular object, we can say. So this self dot name is a particular variable, okay, which belongs to this s1 student. Okay, so now the three values which are passed are the name, roll number, roll underscore number, and the sem. So this first value which is there, that is string Sora, will be passed over here in the name. Okay, and the second value, which is 23, will be passed over here in the roll underscore number, and the third value which is there is the third semester, and this will be passed over here in the sem variable. Okay, and then these values will be assigned to self dot name. Okay, so the name which is passed, that is Saurabh over here, is assigned to self dot name. Then 23 will be assigned to self dot roll number, and then the third value which is there is the semester, that is the third, will be assigned to self dot sem. So this student, that is s1, will have its name as Saurabh and the roll number as 23 and sem as 3. Okay, then we will be instantiating another object, and that is the s2 object. So that will be also of the student type, so it will be also having the same set of properties. That is, it will be having the same set of attributes. Okay, over here, sorry, not the properties but the attributes we are talking of. So the attributes over here are the name, the roll number, and the semester. So the name of the student will be Vasudev. Okay, then the roll number is 38 and the semester is fourth. Okay, semester. And then what I've done is I've also executed the get details method. And for executing this method, what we need we need to first of all write the name of the object, then the dot operator, and then the name of the method. So when this line is executed, at this time, this set of statements which is there this set of print statements which is there inside the which are there inside the get underscore details uh, method, okay, will be executed. The one very important point is that there is a variable over here which is the self. Okay, you can see that in each of the method which is there inside the student class, there is a variable, and that is a self variable. Okay, and this self is written as the very first variable over here. So one thing one must keep in mind is that there is a self variable which is there inside the methods which are there belonging to a particular class. Okay, or the instance method, we can say all these are instance methods, and all instance methods have this self variable as their first variable. One very important point is that this self, okay, could also be given some other name. Means it's not mandatory for us to write self only. Okay, we can use any other name also. We can provide it with any other name. Okay, but the thing is we cannot use any predefined keyword. Okay, we can use like can simply use s. Okay, or any other name we can give. Okay, but the thing is, then whatever name we are giving over here, the same name we need to use over here. Okay, so we if we pass the first variable as s, so we need to write over here as s dot name, not self dot name. Okay, this is the important thing. Okay, now the next thing is, when this get underscore details method will be called, then the very first thing in the case of the first object s1 will be welcome. Okay, then followed by self dot name. So self dot name over here was Saurabh, so welcome Saurabh will be written. Then roll number is, then self dot roll underscore no, that was 23, so roll number is 23. And then semester is, and the semester was third, so self dot sem was having value third, so third will be printed, so semester is third. In the same way, when s2 dot get details will be called, okay, so the statements, all these three statements will be executed once again, and it will be written as welcome Vasudev, roll number is 38th, and then semester is 4th. Okay, so this is the thing. This was our student class, and this statement which is there, it is known as the document description string. Okay, so it is basically a string. So we have three. Okay, we have this inverted comma over here. Okay, and it is thrice. So this, the very, if we have a particular string just below the name of the class, so what will happen is, or we can say we have over here as the first line over here. Okay, so this string will be the document string, it will be describing our document. So this is the document description string. And if we want to know that what is the description of our class or our document over here, so for this there is a attribute which is the underscore underscore doc underscore underscore attribute, and it is a class attribute. So if we want to print this description, that over here it is written subscribe to Indian Gurukul on YouTube for learning complete Python. So if we want to print this statement, so what we'll be needing is, we will be first of all needing the name of the class, that is the student, followed by dot, and then underscore underscore doc underscore underscore, because it is a class type attribute. Okay, so class name by dot, and then followed by underscore underscore doc underscore underscore. So over here the class name is student, so student dot underscore underscore doc underscore underscore. Okay, or if we even write help and then we pass the name of the class within it, okay, then also the same description is printed. One most important point is when we create a particular class, then the very first character which is there of its name, over here the class name is student, so this s character over here must be capital, although this is a convention. So if we write small over here, the name of the class is started with some small on the lowercase alphabet, then also it's not an error, but it's a convention. So in order to just follow the convention, okay, what we do when we write the class, so at that time the first letter is the in its uppercase of the name of the class. Okay, so this method which was there, set details method, we use this method to initialize the object attributes. Okay, and then this method, that is the get details method, okay, was used to get the object details. Okay, if you want to understand this self, okay, then self is analogous to this which we use in C++ or Java. Okay, and it points to the current object. So over here the first object is instantiated, so we are just instantiating an object. Then another object s2 is instantiated, so we are just writing s2 equal to student, and then this is the complete code which we have executed. Okay, and once it has been executed, so when this set details method will be called, okay, so at this time the these values will be assigned to self.name, self.roll underscore number, no sorry, and then self.sem. Okay, so s1 dot name will be Saurabh, s1 dot roll underscore no will be 23, and s1 dot sem will be third. Okay, and after this, when this get details will be executed, this statement will be executed, s1 dot get underscore details, then these three statements will be print. So this we will be getting in our output, so the result will be welcome Saurabh. Okay, so this is the output which we are getting, and roll number is 23, semester is third, and then this object will be instantiated, it is the s2 object will be instantiated, but we do not have any explicit init method. Okay, or we can say we do not have any explicit constructor definition over here, so an empty constructor definition will be executed and nothing will be done. And when this s2 dot get sorry set underscore details method will be executed, so these values will be assigned to the name variable. Okay, self dot name variable, self dot roll number, and self dot sem of this s2 object. And when this get underscore details method will be executed, so these three lines will be printed, welcome Vasudev, roll number is 38, and then semester is 4th. Okay, this was the thing. And we can even use the constructor. So if we use the constructor method, then this method will be called implicitly. So in this case we do not need to call the set details method. Okay, because in the case of set details method, since it wasn't the constructor, so we need to call this method explicitly. And what we did was, we first of all wrote the name of the object like s1, and then followed by dot, and then followed by the name of this method set underscore details. Okay, but in this case what we are doing is, now we are using the constructor for the same purpose, and now we do not need to explicitly call this init method, because we know that a constructor is implicitly called at the time of object instantiation. So when this statement s1 equal to student Saurabh 23 third will be executed. So when this statement will be executed, so at that very moment, okay, what will happen is this constructor which is there inside the body of the class, okay, will also be executed, and these three instance variables, that is the self dot name, self dot roll number, and self dot sim, will be initialized with the name which is passed over here, okay, name value which is passed over here, that is Saurabh, and then the roll number, okay, which is 23, and then semester, that is sem, which is third, okay, will be assigned to this self dot sim. This details method explicitly because it is not the constructor method, so we will be needing this s1 dot details over here, okay. So this is the thing, we can see the output over here. So I think that this much is sufficient for today, okay. Okay, so thank you.